Hello everyone, myself Sabri and I welcome you to our channel Solution Bridge Network and one-stop solution for all your Power Platform tutorials.
Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to understand how we can leverage Power Automate to populate an existing Excel template by retaining all the conditional formatting whatever is being applied on that template. As a business use case, I have taken a simple Excel template which has 5 different columns, incident ID assigned to priority, aging, and within SLA. I have some of the conditional formattings applied here on the priority, aging, and SLA. So let me select that column, go to the conditional formatting and say manage rules. So it will list down all the conditional formatting available on this section since I'm seeing the manage rules in this section only. So whenever the cell value is low, it will be having a green background with a green text, and whenever it is in medium, it is an yellow background with an yellow text. Similarly, when the priority is high, you can see a red color background with a red color text. If I just move this to this section, you will be able to see whenever a cell value that has no in the section E to E, then that will be highlighted in a red color background with a red text. And I do have another conditional formatting for the aging as well. So whenever the number of days in the aging is between 1 and 5, it will be a normal text. So whenever the aging is between 5 and 10, it will be a light red with a back text. And whenever the aging is between 10 and 100, it will be an same background with a dark red text. I have saved this Excel template inside one of my SharePoint. I call it as Power Apps. And in the document section, I have a folder called Populate Excel template. And this has two folders. One is extract, another one is template. And the file, what I have shown here, lives in this folder, Populate Excel template and in template. Now we're going to leverage Power Automate Flow to populate this Excel template on the necessary basis. So let me go to the Power Automate, go to My Flows, and let's start creating the flow. Let me create on plus new flow. I would like to go with an instant cloud flow now. So let me select manually trigger a flow and call this as Populate Excel template. Let's click on create. I would like to switch back to the old designer. So let me switch back. As a first step, what we would like to do here is to create an array variable to store some of the sample information. So let me create a variable and I would like to use the initialize variable option, call it as data, and the type I would like to keep it as an array. So here I have a sample which I have already created in the notepad. If you see, I have incident ID assigned to priority, aging, and within SLA. So there are some of the samples. I have 5 records. So let me copy this, come back to the Power Automate flow and paste this. Now we have a sample array which is called data. So let me rename the connector as well. I will say it as sample data and the name of the variable is data. So now what we're going to do here is whenever we trigger this flow, this Power Automate should go and copy this file, that is incident export template, which is available on this path, that is documents, populate Excel template and template, and make a copy of it in the extract section. If you go into the extract section, now you can see that it's blank. So now let's go to the Power Automate flow. First, let's get the file content. So get file. So in the SharePoint connector, you have an action called get file content. Get file content using the path. I would like to select that. And the SharePoint where my files live is called as Power Apps. So let me look out for that. So it's Power Apps. And the file path, what I'm gonna copy will be static always because that's a template. I have placed it in the document section. And then inside the document section, we need to navigate to populate Excel template and template where you will be able to see that file. So if you see incident export template as the name of the file, which I would like to copy, and I would like to create a new file. So let me create a new file. I'll use the same SharePoint connector again. And in the SharePoint connector, I would like to use an action called create a file. So just type create and select on create a file. And in the site address, you need to select the site where your file wants to live. So I want to save this to a site called Power Apps. And here the folder will also be the same. So you go to the shared documents and from there go to populate Excel template. And now I would like to go with the folder called extract. So this is the place where the new file should live. And the name of the file, I would like to call it as incident data underscore. I would like to pass in the UTC now, so that whenever you create a file, this will always be unique considering the seconds. And I would like to concat the UTC now with the extension of the file, that is xlsx. So dot xlsx. Once this is done, you can close the bracket and click on save. The file content will be the content what we have received from the previous step. So select the file content, go to the dynamic content, and here you just select the file content from the get file content using the path connector. Now whenever we run this flow, you will be able to see this folder extract will have a new file with the same formattings. Let me go to the flow, just test the flow manually, test. Let me click on continue and run the flow and wait for the flow to complete, and we will just navigate to the path to check if the file is being available there with the same level of formatting as our initial file. Our flow ran successfully. Let me go to the path, refresh the path. Yes, we can see the file incident data with the timestamp of format xlsx. So let me open that, and you will be able to see the same file, whatever you see it in the incident export template. So the copy action, whatever we have done so far, is working. As a next step, we would like to use for each loop and pass in the sample data inside the loop, and we need to update this created file with all the informations available in this sample data. So let me go to the control and then use the action called apply to each. And in the apply to each, we're gonna pass in this content as the sample data. The variable data is what we're gonna pass. And in the add an action, I would like to say add a row in the Excel connector. So let me look out for the Excel connector. I would like to use add a row action. So type in add a row. So you will have an add a row into a table. Here you need to select the location and the document library where the new file lives. So we know that the location is the SharePoint site, which is Power Apps. So search for it. You will find the SharePoint site Power Apps, and the document library will also be the same. It doesn't gonna change. It's documents. But here the file, whatever we're gonna update, will automatically change. The reason being the name of the file or the ID of the file that gets created will always be unique. So what we're gonna do, rather than setting it to a default value using this browse option, I would like to use output path from the create file connector. So let me click on this path. Now we need to select in the table name. So table name will also be unique. You might think that the table name will always be same. If you go to the template, if you select this and go to the table design, you can see the name of the table as table 1. And again, if you go to this file, which we have just copied and pasted it in a different folder, again, select the table, go to the table design, you will still see the name as table 1. So you might think that we will be able to hard code the name as table 1, but Power Automate rely on the ID, the unique identification number for any of the references that we're gonna do. So either it is a file, either it is a name of a table. So here we need to make sure we are getting the new table ID of the created file. I would like to use a variable. So I would like to add a variable here, a blank variable first. So let me go here, add a variable and create this as initialize variable of type string, and I would like to call this as a table ID. Let this be blank. Once after the file is created, what I'll do, I'll go to an add an action and call the Excel connector and an action called get tables. So let me type in get table, and in the Excel business connector, you could see an action called get tables. So select that, and the location on the document library gonna still be the same. This is Power App SharePoint site is my location, and my document library will always be the documents. As I said earlier, the file what we're gonna reference here will be in the dynamic content. So go to the create file output and look out for path. So what this action does is It's just go to this document library in Power Apps and look out for this file, and it will list down all the tables available in this file. So let me save this. There is an error. You can see that add a row into a table and the table is required. That's correct. Until unless we add this item, we will not be able to proceed saving this. So that's okay. So let me remove this action and we will add it later once we have the table identified. So now let's save this. And as a next step, we need to make sure we append the table ID to this variable, whatever we have created. Let me add the next step, add an action. I would like to set the value for a variable. So I will say set variable, and in the variables connector, go for set variable, and the name of the variable what I'm gonna set is the table ID, and the value of this table ID should be a dynamic content that is from get table. I would like to pass this ID as the input. So immediately after selecting that ID, you can see that apply to each loop is created. The reason being, get tables might have multiple tables based on the file whatever you have used. For instance, consider you have an Excel file which has 5 different sheets with 5 different tables. So this get tables will list down all the tables, and in this apply to each loop, this will be appending for each. Consider you have 5 different tables, then your last ID will be your final output of this variable. Since we know we have only one table, even this loop will be running only once, and hence there will not be any problem. So let me save this. In the apply to each loop, now we will be able to use the same action whatever we have used previously from this Excel Online connector. So select that Excel Online and look out for a action called add a row. Select add a row into a table, and you know the location is a Power App SharePoint site. So let's look for Power Apps, and in the document library it is same, the documents. The file name should be a dynamic content in the create file. So let me scroll down and look for the path. So this is the file path, and here the table name is also a dynamic content. So click here, look out for the dynamic content, scroll up and select the table ID. Click OK. Once you select the table ID, you can see that it is just a single input, whatever it asks for. So that's fine. Go here, click f of x and say item function. So for each loop, the individual items will be passed into the Excel file. In this scenario, we need to make sure one thing, that all the input names, whatever you define in this array, should match with the headers available in the table. If that is the case, this flow will just save all the informations. Let me click on save and then let's start testing the flow. Let me go to the test. I would like to run the flow manually. I would click test and then let's wait for the flow to get ran successfully, and then we will go back to the folder and then check how our output looks like. Now we could see that the flow ran successfully. So let me go to the SharePoint site, reload the site, and now we will be able to see a new document. Yes, a new file got created. I would like to open this file and see how the data looks like. You can see all the 5 different rows, whatever we have just added in this array is now patched to this table. But you could see one extra line which is called as sample row at the top. If you want to have it removed, you can just go to the Power Automate, use delete a row action. So as a last step, what I would like to do is I would call the action delete a row. So in the Excel Online, you have something called delete a row. Select that. It just again asks for the location. It is the Power App SharePoint site, followed by the document library. That's documents. And the name of the file is the path again. Just scroll down, look out for the path. Table is nothing but that variable, whatever we have created. Let me go to the dynamic content, select the table ID as the variable. Here, the key column, I would like to use it as incident ID. Let me type in incident space ID and click on OK. This gets auto picked. And the value, whatever you want to delete, is sample row. Let me copy this, go to the Power Automate and paste that. Save it. Let me run, it will create a new file. From there, we will be able to check if that row got deleted. The sample row is in place to retain all the conditional formattings, whatever we applied on the table. So whenever all the informations are pasted, if required, you can just have this deleted, or even if you want to have that as a blank line at the first or bottom of the table, then you can just leave it as it is. Let me go back to the site, refresh. I will be seeing a new file. It's in about a minute ago. Let me click that, and now you will be able to see all the 5 items without that sample row. By this, we come to end of this video. In this video, we understood how to copy a file from one location to different location in the same SharePoint site or a different SharePoint site and retain all the conditional formattings and add row into the table. As an additional step, if you want to send this as an attachment to any of the user, you can again get the file content using the path, add it as an attachment in the email and send it across. If you have any question, please post it in the comment section and we will be happy to help.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel, hit the like button, and press the bell icon for our new video alerts.